Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Dowd here, coming at you from my car with a portable rig. Good news, I'm getting air conditioning back today. Bad news, the furnace is in my office, so unless you want to hear the dulcet tones of drills and metal cutters along with the tech news you need to know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Also, programming note, we're taking tomorrow off for the rocket's red glare and bombs bursting in air, and we'll be back on Friday with proof that our flag was still there. It is July 3rd, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. The fix is in! But this time we mean it. Or at least Samsung does. We just commented on hashtag FoldWatch 2019 yesterday, now entering its 71st day. But word is that the Fold is officially fixed, and we have some details on what had to happen to make the Fold fold without folding. I think that makes sense. Yeah. The Fold is said to have two fixes in the works. First, and not surprisingly, the protective film, which you are definitely not supposed to peel off, but people tried to peel off, will be made unpeel-offable. The film will extend all the way to the outer edges, and if they're smart, they'll figure out a way to put it under the bezel. If that's even possible, I'm not an engineer. Interestingly enough, the fixes that we're hearing about do not include additional warnings or documentation, which, I mean, how much does it cost to print a business card that says, "Don't peel this off, dude," and stick it in the phone? Anyway, the second fix is that the hinge has been re-engineered, but not really in a way I think was all that important, unless I'm just not getting it, which for the record is entirely possible. According to Bloomberg, the hinge has been pushed slightly upward towards the screen, so it's now flush with the display. This will help reduce the crease by stretching the display a little further when the Fold is opened. Presumably, it'll also add rigidity to the protective film as well. What we're not hearing about is the gap between the edge of the screen and the display, presumably what let dirt in the first place. We did see some initial reports when this whole fiasco started that Samsung was going to try to minimize that gap as well, but there's nothing here to verify that that actually happened. Samsung is already building these components and will be shipping them soon to a factory in Vietnam for final assembly. Soon, eh? Yeah, we've heard that word before. Plus, there is one little catch here. You know the trade wars between the US and China? Well, it turns out that Japan and South Korea can have one too. And you get a trade war, and you get a trade war, and you get a trade war. Everybody gets a trade war! South Korea and Japan are not too happy with each other, so Japan is hampering the export of fluorinated polyamide to South Korean companies. Fluorinated polyamide is used in, survey says, flexible displays. When it rains in South Korea, it pours. So where does that leave us? Will the Galaxy Fold be a 2.0 product? Will it still have some foibles? Will anyone still buy this thing? That's what we'll all find out. But for now, it's time for our Star-Spangled Roundup! Remember how President Trump said U.S. companies could sell to Huawei again? Well, not so fast. In an email sent to staff, John Sonderman, Deputy Director of the Office of Export Enforcement in the Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry and Security, and try fitting all that on a business card, told staffers to continue to treat Huawei as if it was blacklisted. These guidelines cited the entity list, which Huawei is still on, and included, quote, presumption of denial when it comes to permits selling to the number 2 smartphone manufacturer in the world. To quote the Reuters story, a presumption of denial implies strict review, and most licenses reviewed under it are not approved. So in short, no one really knows just what the hell is going on anymore. And speaking of not so fast, U.S. lawmakers have officially asked Facebook to put its cryptocurrency Libra on hold, citing concerns that vulnerabilities could be exploited by bad actors. Of course, these may be the same lawmakers who asked Mark Zuckerberg how it makes money off of a free website, and yes, Senator, they still run ads. Of course, it shouldn't be a problem putting this currency on hold, seeing as how no one has actually put any currency into it yet. Tourists crossing over the border into China are being forced to install malware onto their Android phones, which downloads calendar entries, contacts, text messages, and call logs and uploads them to a server. This is not a choice. Your phone is seized, the app is sideloaded, and then you continue along your merry way. This is only happening in certain parts of China's border, but still, the Chinese government is not being very subtle here, but then they don't really have to be. Anyone still wondering why Huawei is still on the entity list? It turns out Elon Musk isn't just interested in electricity and space travel, he digs satire too. So when former editors of The Onion approached him about a project they were working on called Thud, he invested with no expectation that the startup would ever make any money. Thud was not meant to be an Onion offshoot, but rather a series of satirical projects in the real world. One project included a proposed wing of a museum dedicated to the British imperial conquest of heaven. So when Musk decided just 1 year later to pull the plug, not surprisingly, Thud landed with a thud. The Verge has a write-up on its weird history behind this company, so give it a look. And finally, if you've never had the pleasure, point your web browser to 11foot8.com. That's the numbers 11, the word foot, and the number 8.com. It's a website dedicated to collecting footage of a truck-eating bridge known as the Can Opener due to its low clearance, which is, you guessed it, 11'8". The Can Opener has scraped the tops off of 147 trucks since the installation of the cam in 2008, and this is despite two signs indicating the height of the bridge, a yellow painted bar at that height, and a literal blinking, flashing sign that tells trucks to turn. Just goes to show, you can try to make things foolproof, but fools are not so easily fooled. So that is going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, leave a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about DigitDailyPod.com. Once again, I'm Adam Dowd, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again on Friday.